Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda with our weekly take. And Steve, this week we're going to roll through a few key things that we're looking at. Starting with the New Zealand wind down of the season.
Yeah, fairly topical, causing a lot of people to salivate. We've heard a lot of people on missions to New Zealand to find out what the hell's going on down there, how bad things are. Two pictures tell the story. The soil moisture on the right still looking pretty bad. There's been some rain, obviously some green bits that have flared up there with recent rain, and there's more on the way. It's changing, but when you look at the rolling pasture growth index, particularly the North Island, South Island doesn't look too much different, but the North, that is yet to turn the corner. So we've seen some recent years where we have turned the corner this late, but this one's not on the way yet. So,
But given where we are in the season anyway, what does it actually amount to?
So our assessment is we're going to see growth in the season fall by 1 to 1.5%. So we've said in our workings, let's say it's about 2.4% over the year. So that's peaking back a bit. So we've got some big negative months coming. That's worth about 200 million litres or about 15,000 tonnes of whole milk powder if the current mix is preserved. So compare that to what might be going on in Europe. So Europe's coming out of the blocks of a mild winter, and there might be about 0.3% the next few months that might vary, let's just say.
Go either way.
Go either way, and you look at what's going on. So that's where we're seeing. It's about the same effect in the next few months as what New Zealand might be up for change. Or look at Australia, where we've had a loss of 5% in the half year. Latest estimates are around about 8%. So another 3% off, and that's worth a little bit more milk. But they're broadly similar, the three moving parts at the moment, weather driven. So it is pretty interesting to line those up. Speaking of Australia, we thought we'd just update our latest spot commodity milk value, which keeps soaring. I mean, that's a stiff upward line there that's pretty impressive, driven by firming cheese prices mostly. And
also currency that's lost a bit of ground.
Yeah, as the economy weakens. Just comparing where we are now to what our latest outlook is for next season, we think the midpoint of our CMV for next season is sitting at $6 Australian dollars, with a 20-cent range either way. So that's about how we're seeing it right now. So a reasonable increase. You got to add to that the value capture that might be out there. So expect numbers with a strong 6 at the front. Some might even see a 7. So that's not much relief given the conditions, though.
No, that's right. That's right.
We're working on a trade summary, an annual trade summary for the 2018 year, pulled out of our Dairy Trade Simulator, and I just thought it'd highlight some stunning facts coming out of that, some headlines. We've seen a pretty strong year, the strongest growth year for some time.
Yes.
So we measure this in milk solids equivalent for the unwashed, meaning we account for fat and protein in the commodities, the use of fat and protein. It's a little better than milk equivalents, which misses some of that effect, particularly if you've got different volumes of fat and protein in products. There was a late finish to the year. That certainly kicked the numbers up, largely driven by the surge in skim milk powder demand at low prices and the big surge in Chinese whole milk powder buying. So the late rally has lifted the numbers, but we've also seen some interesting share shifts. So quite a lot of dynamic action around the global market during the year. A lot of changes in supply shares into certain markets. The US was the big mover as an individual exporter. It gained the most. We've also seen those Latin American players come in with almost as much growth in exports as the US in total, which is interesting.
It is.
The size of it.
Yeah.
A lot of that in whole milk powder, a lot of it into North Africa and Middle East, etc.
Interesting to see the US. Obviously, we finally caught up on a couple of months of trade data just recently for the end of 2018, and it's really fallen in a hole. And obviously, we've still got the ongoing issues around trade policy. So frustrating for US exporters that started the year so well, isn't it? That
they had a very
they've gained
big
some share.
Yeah,
and,
they had a big first half.
Yeah, now going backwards.
Yeah, particularly in Southeast Asia, they picked up big. The other thing that we're looking at here, and we're looking at a very small snippet of what we've got, is the structure of markets. So the green, the coloured bars, the green and light blue, is where a lot of the volume is in solids. That's in the powder markets, mostly Asia. The Middle East and North Africa, a bit more trouble, but certainly they've been picking up bargains as well. And then you can see how consistent cheese is right across the board as a market.
It's the quiet achiever, isn't it?
Yeah, it just plugs away.
Yeah.
And lastly, in this little wrap, just the growth in individual market regions, which shows this looks quite different to what it did last year. But Southeast Asia, China, and North Africa sort of contributing equal amounts in total market growth. And surprisingly, Oceania, that's Australian imports, mostly due to a shortage in requirement here.
And it is an interesting summary, and we're giving it away, Steve. So
shortly.
Yeah. So if you're interested in getting a free copy of the annual Trade Insight Summary, you just send us an email at info@freshagenda.com.au or jump on the website and have a look.
Which is on our last slide. So, which almost brings us to the last slide, but before that, Joe, what chart of the week have you got for us this week?
Oh, it's always exciting, but we thought we'd have a look at what's happening in the US in terms of cow numbers, and I'm going to be bold here and say that is a trend that we're seeing there.
That's a bit cool.
Up in the desert states, and really losing those cows from the other regions, those more traditional regions of the US. And obviously corresponding milk production changes, although not in the last month of data, which was interesting. But it's certainly an ongoing trend of migration to those larger scale regions for milk production. Yeah,
the narrative is still that those east and southern states to the southeast are doing it tough with economics. And there's a little bit more capacity going to the southwest, and that's pulling it up. So
sure.
Interesting story. And we're wrapping up. That's all from us this week. There's our email if you're interested in that trade report. We'll see you next week.
You won't believe what I could have told you.